expand our imagination.
Justification for being what you are.
And welcome to Washington Unplugged. Bob Schieffer here. Well, Missouri Senator Kit Bond has been a vocal critic of the White House's handling of the Christmas Day terror plot. He recently called for the National Security Advisor John Brennan to resign. White House Press Secretary Robert Gibbs responded by asking Senator Bond to apologize for suggesting that the administration has leaked information on the Christmas Day bomber. Well, Senator Bond is with us this morning up at the Capitol. Senator, this has developed into quite a deal here. You saying that John Brennan, the White House advisor on security, ought to resign. The White House saying you ought to apologize. What's going on here? Do you have any plans to apologize, first off?
My plans are to continue to push to get this administration to recognize that the world changed on 9/11/2001. We found out then that treating terrorists like common criminals was not a way to keep our country safe. And it appears that they have forgotten that message. They are treating them like common criminals, and that leaves us in a very dangerous position. I am fighting to get that policy changed.
Are you, Senator, did you call for John Brennan to resign because of the job that he's doing, or because he wrote an op-ed page and said some critics who are criticizing the administration are really sort of giving aid and comfort to the enemy?
Well, that one wasn't particularly helpful, but John Brennan, as the National Security Advisor for Intelligence, should have been responsible for intelligence. And a year ago, the president said that he was going to end the CIA's ability to question terrorists, so he was going to set up a separate unit. We found out on Christmas Day that that unit hadn't even been set up almost a year later. And he was not doing anything to get it right. Then he goes out as a political spokesman for the press office. He went to the media and said that I and the other 7 members of Congress who had been briefed about Abdulmutallab knew that he was going to be Mirandized. That was absolutely not true. Not only did we not know it, but the leaders of the intelligence community didn't know it. And it makes it kind of hard to trust a guy who is that far wrong and who does not have a job, does not do the job well. But my real beef, the real point here is the administration has to stop treating enemy combatants as common criminals.
Senator, you are the ranking Republican on the Intelligence Committee. Do you feel any responsibility yourself for the response to the Christmas Day bomber? I mean, clearly a lot of dots didn't get connected, to use the cliche. A lot of things that should have happened didn't happen, obviously, where there was no sharing of intelligence. You have the congressional oversight on intel. Do you feel that your committee wasn't doing its job either?
We try to do our job as best we can. We know that the intelligence community does not have the IT, the information technology it needs to share it. And we're trying to get the intelligence committee synced up more closely with appropriations so we can get them more money. But the rest of it were individual failures up and down the line. Not to report here, not to report there, not sharing the information. We have a lengthy investigation going of what went wrong, and I hope that we have some conclusions that we're preparing on what needs to be done within the community, which is our job. We can't run it, but we can try to provide them the resources, ask the questions, and when something goes wrong, work with them to make sure they fix it. And that's where we're trying to go. And Chairman Feinstein and I are working very closely with our committee to do that.
Do you think that we're any safer, that the intelligence community and so forth is working any better than it did after 9/11? Because it seems to me what we saw here with the Christmas Day bomber was a lot of the same kind of stuff that we saw in the wake of 9/11.
Well, we have made tremendous progress since 9/11, but we're not all the way there yet. And there were failures that involved the State Department, that involved the CIA, that involved the TSA. We're trying to put all of that together. Now, there are some steps, unfortunately, that have been taken by the White House in the last year that I think make our nation less secure from terrorist attacks.
Like
the
what?
way of handling of Abdulmutallab, not questioning him immediately, while the information he had on those most likely to be attacking us, the Yemeni Al-Qaeda who are sending over individual suicide bombers. We were told right after they Mirandized him that they got all the information they needed in 50 minutes. 5 weeks later, they're saying, oh, now they're really getting the information. That was our point when they Mirandized him and shut him up for 5 weeks.
Senator, do you think in retrospect that it was a good idea to create this Department of Homeland Security?
Homeland Security has been a real challenge. It's been a real challenge in the past and a real challenge in the future. I know there are a lot of people working hard. I know Secretary Napolitano is working hard. The previous secretaries worked hard. The Oversight Committee is working hard. But there are a lot of disparate elements brought in, and I'd have to leave it to Chairman Lieberman and Vice Chairman Collins to say how far along it is. They're watching over it. We know their challenges.
Well, a lot of people say that what we actually did was just create another enormous bureaucracy and put it on top of a bureaucracy that was already there and was not working very well. Do you think in retrospect, and I expect you probably voted to create the department, but is that a vote? Would you still make the same vote today that you made then?
I'd want to rethink that one pretty carefully, Bob.
You want to rethink it pretty carefully.
Yeah.
What do you think is the main thing that needs to be done right now, Senator?
With respect to what? Intelligence? That's my field.
Yes.
With intelligence, number one, we need to change the policy of Mirandizing enemy combatants. We need to stop sending detainees back home from Gitmo. We need to stop the efforts to bring Khalid Sheikh Mohammed and other terrorists to trial in the United States in an Article III court. We need to use the trial court that has been built at Gitmo, and we need to emphasize the fact that the Al-Qaeda and its allies have declared war on us, a war of terror, and we've got to fight it like a war, not a bunch of law enforcement activities.
Generally when senators or congressmen call for somebody to resign, that just causes the administration, whether it's Republicans or Democrats, to sort of dig in on it and sort of ensures that the guy's going to keep his job. Do you think by calling for Mr. Brennan to resign, you may have given him some job security, as it were?
Well, I think we've gotten their attention, and I think that my main point is to get the administration to change its policy. I look forward to a discussion. I'll talk with the president or Mr. Brennan about changing the policy. My real problem is with the policy. Mr. Brennan has been the chief carrying that one out, and that's why the things I've laid out is why I think he should go. But if they need to look at the policy, that policy needs to change. And I believe there are a lot of people on both sides of the aisle who are looking at it. Senator Feinstein joined me in saying we shouldn't automatically Mirandize every enemy combatant that comes in. We shouldn't be sending the Yemeni detainees at Gitmo back to their home country. There are a lot of people who are urging the administration to rethink their terror policy.
All right. Senator Ket Bond of the Intelligence Community. Very good to have you this morning on a day when it wasn't all that easy to get to where you are right now, because Washington is really digging out here from one of the worst storms we've ever had. Thank you for watching Washington Unplugged, and join us again tomorrow on CBSNews.com. Then make sure to tune in Sunday on television for Face the Nation. I'm Bob Schieffer.
If we don't expand our imagination,
Justification for being what you are.